one of my favorite fall time ways to catch fish is throwing a little miniature swim bait. The boys and I, we're gonna go out and try to catch some striper and bass this evening. And the reason it works so good this time of year, the fish are feeding on really small shad. You see, I got one trying to catch them in the net and one trying to catch them on bobber now. But the bass, the striper, most of your shad forage is like really small this time of year, 2-3 inches in length. You know, you'll see them. I call it roosting on the surface in the evening. I don't know what the correct way to say whatever they're doing, but when you see the shad flickering on the surface in the evening, that little bitty shad is what they're feeding on. So that's why the little miniature swim baits work well. I've got 3 that I like to use here, and I'll show you the jig head, the setup that I like to use for. Did you catch another one?
Yes.
He caught another one in the net. He caught another brim. Dude is out here catching the fish literally with the net, like scooping them up with the net. I didn't know you caught another one. But I've got, this is a new jig head that we got at Z-Man right here that I've been using this. I actually started using this guy earlier this spring. It's called a Finesse Eyes. You see it's got like this little, I don't know what you call it, little caricature going underneath the plastic. It kind of makes it butt up to the plastic a little bit better. The jig head, I mean, it butts up to the plastic a little bit better. You got a good keeper on here. It's really important if you're using Elastec baits to use Z-Man jig heads. I think I've found that Z-Man jig heads work better with Z-Man plastic because it's just, they have the right keeper for it, the right jig head. They usually try to match the circumference of the jig head to the plastic, the body, plastic body, so it just seems to work a little bit better. What do you got, Brooks? You got another cork? Just stay with the cork you got. That'll work. But I got 3 that I like to use. One that I use the most is this one, 3-inch minnows. This is Opening Night is the color. That's probably my favorite. I've used this from medium stain water to crystal gin clear water. For some reason, it even shows up in muddy water. The pearlescence on the back just really glows really good, and it just looks exactly like a shad. That's what shad look like. They have somewhat of a clear body with some type of pearlescent back on them, most all of them. The way I rig it is really easy. With Elastec, if you'll be real careful, hold on, Brooks, I'm gonna need that rod, okay? Just use yours. With Elastec, in the center, there's an open core in there that'll help you rig your plastics up on the hook, right? You get around there, feel for it, you'll feel your hook just kind of just ease through real easily. You're all right, buddy? You'll feel your hook just kind of punch through real easily once you get, you know, just like you want it. If it's not in that hollow core, it'll rig up all kind of janky. But here's the most important part when you're rigging Elastec, okay? So you got this keeper. You see it right there on the, it's got like a little 45-degree metal keeper. It's important to take your keeper and pull it up and over that little barb. Once you pull it up and over that barb, like what I did, pull it out from the barb, up and over. The good thing about Elastec, you know, when you rig it like that and say you rig it, you're not happy with the way it looks, it's not like traditional plastic. Take it off, rig it back again. That's all you got to do. You don't have to, you know, you don't have to worry about burning through plastic just because you didn't rig it right. And that's simply all it is. So that's the 3-inch minnows. Most of the time on the jig heads, I'm going to use anywhere from 1/8 ounce to 3/8 ounce. 3/8 ounce when I want to get more distance or get it down deeper. Probably the most versatile, if you don't know where to start, 3/16 is what I'm going to use. Finesse Eyes with 3-inch minnows. All right, so when they're really chomping, I'm gonna put this on a hook here in a minute and you'll see why I like it so good. I'll be honest with you, people talk about, when you're talking about miniature swim baits, finesse style swim baits, most people like those Keitech style swim baits, and they're okay, but I'm gonna show you what this guy works with like. It's so much better than any of those style, because everybody's pretty much knocked off of Keitech, but with this minnows, it's a lot more finesse, like a lot more finessey. The only thing that rolls is the tail. So, you know, a lot of action, a lot of times what we'll do when you tie on a bait, you put it on, you look at it, you put it down in the water, and you're like, oh man, that looks good to see. It's just doing all this wobbling and kicking and stuff. And that's great when the fish are biting, but in the fall time, when the water's starting to cool down, especially in the winter time, you don't want a lot of action. You don't want a lot of big, robust motion. You want something that's really, really finessey and looks more lifelike. If you ever watch like even these brim that my kids are sitting here playing with, if you'll watch them in the water, they're not doing a whole bunch of kicking and thrashing around. They just kind of just got a real subtle little quiver as they're swimming around. And that's what this swim bait does so well. If you put it in the water, you see pretty much nothing but the tail kicks. So it looks really lifelike. It's more finessey than any of the, I say, Keitech style swim baits. I prefer this one. When the fishing gets tough, this one works so much better. Just given just the action of it, you can see the tail just barely kicks. So it's just more finessey. Looks more lifelike. Body still, tail is kicking at 7,000 RPM. And it doesn't take much, you know, I'm just barely moving it. You can see how fast it's moving. Like, it doesn't take a lot of speed to get that tail kicking. So that's one reason that I like the minnows a little bit better than a lot of the other more popular swim baits. This guy right here, if people really knew how dangerous and how many species of fish and how versatile this bait is, I think you would see a lot more people throwing it. I don't really talk about it a whole lot, but I've caught a lot of fish on this guy, all the way from October to when they're during the post spawn at 3-inch minnows. All right, so that's usually my first grab, 3-inch minnows. My second grab, if I know they've really gotten a lot of pressure, big major cold front, a lot of times in the fall, like where we are now, you're gonna have a cold front come through, and then, you know, the water's just gonna get cold. I like to throw this one. It's the Slim Swims, and it don't look like much at all. It's Slim Swims. It's just like me. Slim Shady, what they should have called it. It's got a lot thinner. You can look at the body compared to the minnows. Wait a minute, Brooks. Come on through if you're coming through, buddy. Oh boy, come on, come on, come on. Stand right here to the side, okay? So you can see the bait. If you look at the bait, you see this is the Slim Swims, and this is the minnows. You see that the Slim Swims is a lot thinner. It does a couple things for you. The action is going to be a lot different. It's going to be even more finessey, and since it's a thinner body, it will get down in the water column a little bit better. So if I need, you know, if they're not schooling quite as much, they're not staying in that top 10% of the water column, and I need to get it down 12, 15 foot, now I'm gonna throw the Slim Swims. Or if they're just feeding on smaller shad, this is just a smaller profile, so it works better. But this is gonna be my second grab. If I'm not getting the bites that I wanna get on the minnows, then I come over here to Slim Swims, throw a Slim Shady down there. And this particular color is called Bad Shad, real translucent. You know, it's easy color. You see I rigged it wrong then. Watch me, I'll rig it right. I'll just wait till I get it right. That's the thing. Like Elastic will be as patient with you as you'll be patient with it. Just keep rigging it till you get it on there just right. So that is Slim Swims and Bad Shad. Now this guy, a lot more finessey. I mean, when I say it, just barely, just a really tight quiver. It's just like crankbaits. You know how some crankbaits have a really wide wobble and they're doing a lot? Swim baits are the same way, just depending on how they make the tail, the paddle on it, is going to determine how much action you get. You can see it's super finessey, like just barely turns. So it's going to be better for a cold front, better when I want to get the bait down deeper in the water column, or, you know, just fish are getting a lot of pressure and they're just seeing so much. You switch to the Slim Swims, you see, man, look at that. I'll jump down on there and eat him like a Oreo. How good he looked. I mean, he just looks real good. So that's gonna be my second option. Under pressure, cold front conditions, really extremely cold water, or if they're feeding on really, really small shad, like you really, really need to downsize a good bit, put on those Slim Swims. And this last option, this is I gotta give credit where credit is due. My dad turned me on to this. Now this bait, you've probably heard me talk about it. If you watched any of my tip videos before, you probably heard me talk about this bait, but not in this context. Likewise, in the wintertime, when the water, where I'm at, we're on Lake Hartwell today. When we get to about January and February, the water temperatures have bottomed out. You're gonna get some water temperatures like in the upper 30s, low 40s, and fish start to suspend a lot. But they don't really, that's where you really got to be peculiar about the action of your baits. Anything doing too much, they are not going to bite it. And so my dad turned me on to this little technique. He still calls this a swim bait. This is not a swim bait, but I take the streaks. This is my streaks right here. All right. take the same jig head, 3/16 ounce finesse eyes jig head. I rig it up just like I do my swim bait. And this is gonna really mess up some people that are more traditional, have a hard time thinking outside the box when it comes to baits. But I'll take this bait right here, 3/16 ounce jig head with the streaks, and fish it the same way I fish a swim bait. You throw it out over ditches, over brush piles, through fish that you see schooling on bait, under birds. You throw it out, and Dad just throws it out and just slowly reels it back. Really just keeping the line tight. It has no action at all, and that's important because the colder the water gets, I don't know if you ever watched it, the colder the water gets, the less action that you'll get out of the bait fish as well. And so it just looks really, really natural. Just that dead sticking action that you'll see with it, it's deadly. Like, they'll hit this at times where they will not hit anything else. So try it. It seems silly, but I promise you, this is stuff that I really count on day in, day out. I keep the same colors, open at night, bad shad, throw it on the same jig head, but it's all about the context of what you're fishing. Water temperature, pressure on the lake, the size of the bait fish. You like those? That's pretty much the same thing I'm fishing. But this guy right here works really good in the right situation, in the right scenario, where when a swim bait, a regular paddle tail swim bait, won't catch fish, the streaks on a jig head, just with a steady retrieve with no action, can be awfully deadly. So give these 3 swim baits a try. You should be able to pick up any of this stuff at Academy Sports and Outdoors. They'll get you hooked up with the right stuff, and you'll catch a lot of fish this fall.